we talk about the quality of justice and so on and so forth, but in the quest of assuring justice, do numbers matter, as in the number of justices?
Yes. First, well, it does. Yes, because there's a minimum that's been set by the Constitution, and you cannot fall below that minimum. In an Article 128, let me read it to you. The Supreme Court shall consist of the Chief Justice and not less than 9 other justices. So the Supreme Court is a Supreme Court of a minimum of 10 justices of the Supreme plus the 9. Yes.
Is there a cap for the maximum number of justices?
No. So that's where the number becomes debatable. But as to whether number matters, yes, 10, that matters. That number matters because the Constitution says so. If you fall below that, you don't have a Supreme Court. Yes. So, but as to whether as to what should be the optimal number, it's a number of factors. It's not, as these, there's a certain modern Ghanaian tree expression, and yet it's not as simple as that, because what is the load? What's the demand? What's the workload? What's the, coming up with the workload, what's the backlog? Is there any backlog? What's the frequency with which people are now? I cannot tell. In my time, that because times change. People are litigious at certain times, and other times they are not. And so you have to be constantly checking your numbers. For the longest time, I think the Supreme Court sort of ranged between, the highest I ever saw it whilst I was on the bench was 15 for a very short period. But on average it's been between 11 and 13. Always an odd number helps, because the Chief Justice is not always available to sit, because the Chief Justice is also doing administrative work. Yes. So you need to know what is your optimal number for efficiently disposing of the cases that are ripe for hearing. That is also an expression that because for a judge, there's a certain period where you have nothing to say, you have nothing to do with what is going on, and then it lands on, it's ripe for hearing. In other words, everything has been done, and it can now be listed and distributed, and it's being heard. And normally, really, I don't know about now, but on average, during my time, the longest that a case will remain in judicial hands would be about maximum 6 months. But then that may be because there were some vacations and so on and so forth. Because usually, once it comes to you, you hear it once, and then you adjourn for judgment. But sometimes there might be some other things that you want them to come back and address you on before you finish. But 6 months, that's fine. But some cases would languish in the registry because lawyers have not been filing what they are supposed to file, and or somebody dies and they have to be substituted, and so on and so forth. But when the case is in the hands of the judge, and sometimes because of numbers, we're talking about numbers, because minimum number to sit on a case in the Supreme Court is 5, except for certain rare situations, and normally some kind of simple applications that one judge can sit on. Yes, but to hear an appeal, for example, minimum of 5. To hear a constitutional case, the practice has been minimum of 7. And in case there's a review, then you have your reserve 2, or plus the Chief Justice if need be. Yes.
And the number of, or the adequacy of justices impact on efficiency?
Oh, I think so. Because you don't really, every overworked machine gets tired. Yeah. So it can sometimes even delay. And sometimes, I remember as Chief Justice, when I would be empaneling, I tried to have a certain rotation so that the same judge does not, let's say for 2-3 weeks running, have a hearing. Because every hearing you have, most likely you're also going to be writing a judgment or a ruling. And rulings and judgments, to me, they're about the same. Yes. And it requires the same attention. So you need to give them sufficient time to read the files you're sending to them, and to mull over the extra things they heard at the hearing, and then prepare for the writing of the judgment. And sometimes when you have a very complicated case, you're trying to sleep. You've decided, okay, I've read it. I think I've understood it. Now I'm off to bed. And then you think you're dripping of then some ideas. You grab your pen, you write a note in case you forget by the morning. And so the case is with you till, it's like pregnancy. The case is with you till you deliver, till it is delivered. Yes. And if it's going to be a unanimous judgment, and it's been decided that, okay, so then you so and so you write, that is there's another burden, because you're going to draft it, you're going to circulate it. This one is coming in with, check this part, I don't agree with this argumentation. And sometimes it can be decided, okay, if you don't agree with it, you can write your additional opinion. But it's the same conclusion, but additional opinion, as we've already said, as to all the permutations.